Before continuing, let's make sure that we manage to install everything that is necessary and everything works fine. First of all, if you still don't have it, download and install Visual Studio Code. Then inside the Visual Studio Code, install 3 extensions: Material Icon Theme, Live Server, and Beautify. Next thing you have to do is to install these internet browsers: Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Opera, and Chrome Mobile on your smartphone. That's the minimum you should have right now. Additionally, I would like you to create a web dev course folder on your desktop or wherever you want to do it. Please make this folder empty. If you created that kind of a folder in our previous video, make sure to delete everything what's inside it. And these things are required to continue our work. If some of these conditions are not fulfilled by you, please pause this video and get everything that is needed. During this course, I will often have assignments for you. The first thing is to really check if you have mastered current material. Secondly, it's really about practicing the skills that should be acquired during a certain meeting. For now, the tasks that I have for you, first of all, will allow us to determine if you can operate basic code editor aspects, and secondly, to check if everything works well with our code editor and the file system. For each assignment that I will have for you, like this checklist, you will of course get as much time as you need. So you'll pause the video in a moment and try to make the tasks. But right after that, if you won't manage to do it or you would like to see me doing it, of course it will be such an option in this video. Every assignment will be shown by me how to do it. But before I'll show you how to do it, I really want you to try to do each task yourself. So what do we have here? The first thing I want you to do is to open Visual Studio Code and then open our web dev course folder already in our code editor. The next thing I want you to do is to create a subfolder inside our web dev course folder being in Visual Studio Code all the time and name it Day12. Inside this new created folder Day12, I want you to create the index.html file. Having this new file created, I want you to open it so that you can see it in your Open Editors tab. And then using the Emmet shortcut, which is the exclamation mark and tab or enter, I want you to create the basic website structure. Then I want you to save your file using Ctrl and S shortcut on your keyboard. And then finally, I would like you to go to the Windows Explorer and run this index.html file by double-clicking it with your mouse. It should open in the Google Chrome browser. If it doesn't open in the Chrome, you should change it. How? I already showed it in the previous video and I will show it in this video in a minute. But for now, just try to do it yourself. If you succeed, great. Our entire environment is set up and ready to work. So for now, please pause this video and try to do your first assignment. I hope you managed to do everything. If not, I'm about to show you how to do it and what problems you may have come across. Open the folder you created, Web Dev Course, in Visual Studio Code. As you may remember, you can open our folder in the code editor by clicking it with the right mouse button and choosing the option Open with Code, just like this. So now you can see our folder is open right here, but it wasn't the solution described in the task, because we had to open this folder already being in the Visual Studio Code. So how to do this? We can go to the File section right here, click Open Folder, and choose our folder, which I have on my desktop right here. Let's click it, click Select Folder, and the effect is exactly the same as it used to, just because this folder was already opened by me. You can see at the column right here which folder is actually open. Task number 2. In the Web Dev Course folder, which should be empty, create a subfolder Day12 and create an index.html file. Our Web Dev Course folder should be empty at the moment, and you can see it is, because when I click on it, we can see that nothing is in there. But what to do if your folder wasn't empty? For example, let's create a new file. Let's call it HTML. And now we can see we have something in our folder. And if we do, all we have to do is to click it with right mouse button and click delete. The same thing you can do in your Explorer. For example, let's create another file. Let's click on our column with the right mouse button. Let's click Reveal in Explorer. Now you can see our folder being opened in the Explorer. And it's the same thing. All you need to do is to click it with the right mouse button and click Delete. And now you can see our folder is empty once again, and we have this information that our new file now is deleted. So let's close this. So what we were supposed to do once again, in the web dev course folder, which should be empty, create a subfolder day12 and create an index.html file. So let's create a new folder inside our web dev course folder. What we need to do is to click the right mouse button on our column and choose new folder. Let's call it day1-2 and let's open it in our Explorer. Right mouse button, Reveal in File Explorer, and you can see it's the same folder. We have my desktop, our web dev course folder, and inside we have this day1. Now we have to create a new file, which should be index.html file. So let's do this. Let's click on the column with the right mouse button, choose new file. Let's name it. And voila, our file is now created, right? So let's open our folder in the Explorer once again. And we can see that our day 1 and 2 folder is still empty. Why is that? You can see it when we go to our web dev course. And we can see it here that we created our index.html file outside the folder day 1 and 2. So what can we do in this situation? The first solution is to go to our Explorer and simply drag our index.html file inside our day1-2 folder right here. And you can see it also in our editor. Our index.html was removed from this location, and we can find it in our day 1 and 2 folder right here. But where we made our mistake, let's delete this index.html file for now. And you have to remember that in Visual Studio Code, if you want to create a file inside a certain folder, you have to click the right mouse button on the folder and not outside of it. Because when you click right mouse button outside that folder and choose new file, you're gonna create this file outside. But when you click on the folder with the right mouse button and then choose new file, it's gonna be inside that folder. We can see it exactly like this. And we can also see it in our File Explorer. Right here, we got our web dev course folder open. We can see outside HTML file. We have our day 1 and 2 folder. Let's go inside it, and we can see inside HTML file. So for now, let's delete all of this. All we have now is our web dev course folder, and inside of it, we only have empty folder day1-2. So what we want to do is to create index.html file inside that folder day1. So we have to click this folder with the right mouse button, then choose new file, and create our index.html. Now you can see our index.html file is inside our day1 folder. And that's exactly our situation in our File Explorer. You can see Web Dev Course folder, day 1 and 2 folder, and inside of it, we have our index.html file. Now we can see our file right here. You can see it as our open editor right here. You can see it's also inside day 1 and 2 folder. And also you can see it in our open editors overlap right here. Task number 3. By using the Emmet shortcut !, and tab, create a website structure. So what we want to do now is to make sure that our index.html file is open. If it's not, you should click it twice then you should see it right here and in your open editors overlap. So now let's create our website structure using the Emmet shortcut, which is exclamation mark and tab on your keyboard. Voila. If your Emmet shortcut does not work for some reason, check if you have proper extension of your file. Because if you leave it without an extension, like this, Visual Studio Code should probably interpret it correctly. But as I said before, you may encounter many errors, and it's a very bad habit for a developer. So always check your extensions in your files. Just like this. Task number 4. Save the website with shortcut Ctrl and S on your keyboard. As I showed you before, you can see those dots right here, and right here. And that means that Code Editor detected changes inside our file, but we didn't save them. So now what we want to do is to click Ctrl and S on your keyboard. Our file is saved, and you can see those dots right here, and right here are missing. So now we are sure that our file is saved. And also what we can see is that Beautify works in our code editor because our code got formatted differently. I'll show you this once again. I'll delete it, create it once again. You can see it right here. And if I click Ctrl S, the formatting of this code will be changed. Just like this. Now, if your code is not formatting on save, for example, let's mess something with our code. Make sure you have correct setting checked. Go to Manage, Settings, Text Editor, Formatting, and Format on Save. This should be checked right here, because if not, if we go to our index.html file and save our file, nothing actually changes. So once again, make sure you go to Manage, Settings, Text Editor, Formatting, and check this option right here, Format on Save. Now when we go to our index.html file, make some changes, save our file is beautifully formatted once again. Task number 5. Open this folder day12 in Windows Explorer and run index.html file with double click. It should open in Chrome. So let's go to our Windows Explorer. You can see I have my web dev course folder right here open. Inside we got day12 folder and we have our index.html file. Now I'll click it and you can see our file is open in Google Chrome. It's all blank because the whole content visible for the user is always placed in the body tag in our HTML file. And as you can see, our body tag is empty at the moment, so our file is blank in the browser. But you can see it's our file by looking on URL of the file, which is the path to our file on our hard drive. But just to be sure that it works fine, let's place something in our body tag. Let's save it. Let's go to our website once again. As you remember, we have to refresh it to see the changes. So let's do this. Reload this page. And you can see the content of our body tag is visible right here. Now let's close it. Let's open our File Explorer once again. And I want to show you how to change your browser if your browser is not Google Chrome set by default. All you have to do is to click it with the right mouse button, choose option Open With, choose option Choose Another App, click it. Be sure to check this option right here, always use this app to open HTML files. Choose Google Chrome from the list and click OK. Now let's close this. Now I want you to do with me the bonus task, which wasn't described in our assignment, and it will be open our index.html file with our live server. As I showed you in my previous video, this icon in the corner is not always visible, as you can see right now. I'm talking about the icon used to open our files in live server. So as I said before, the best way to use your live server is to click the right mouse button on your HTML file, and remember it has to be HTML file, not CSS file or JS file. But we got our HTML file right here. So let's click in our open editor with the right mouse button and choose the option open with live server. And here we can see our file is opened in the live server. Let's split the screen to see it better. You can see that the URL is different because it's the URL of our local host. And you can see the formatting and the font is different as well. But that's the issue of the live server. But to see if it works fine, let's make some changes in our file and save it. As you can see, we have an instant effect in our browser without manually refreshing our website. And that's all. If everything went smoothly with your tasks, great work. If there were any issues and after I explained them they were fixed, it's also great. Our development environment is now ready to write the code and create some websites.